When the Afrikaners took over government with the National Party, what they did was white economic empowerment. But no one calls it that. And if we were to call it that, it would be easy for when white people say, but you have BEE. It's like, but you guys had white economic empowerment. Where? That's all apartheid was. It just wasn't called that. If you twist it around, if we want BEE to be in place, just change the wording. Just call it poor economic empowerment. Of course, the majority of people are black.
Yeah.
So in that way, you get to hide.
Yeah. Patriarchy princesses or women who uplift men are the ones that men will acknowledge. So men like the submissive woman who will listen and push me. But men don't like a Nzikima's wife who's going to take me on, head on, and with intellect. They will diminish that and character assassinate that. So we live in a society that will character assassinate strong women voice.
So I'm worried that Umkhonto Wesizwe is now just a new valve for the angry, a new pacifying tool. Because when you're genuinely interested in the so-called people, you tell them the truth. And the truth is this country is a company and there are people that own this economy.
In a world where Africans have lost their roots, it has become of vital importance to document our ways. In an effort to reverse the brainwashing of the past, where we were made to believe our ways are demonic, we are pressed to create dignified and respectful platforms to unpack our spiritual ways.
The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of the guest and do not necessarily reflect the beliefs or position of this channel, its hosts, or affiliates. This podcast is a platform for open discussions and exploration of various perspectives, including controversial and unconventional ideas. We encourage viewers to think critically, do their own research, and form their own opinions. The content is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be taken as fact, advice, or an endorsement of any specific viewpoint. Viewers' discretion is advised. Umoya Ulight, Umoya Ubright. Welcome to another episode of MOYA Political Series. Thank you for all the support we're getting, guys. We can see the numbers are growing. Thank you. Appreciate you, especially to the members who are helping us keep the lights on. We really appreciate you. So, this is where we give you unadulterated, uncensored, whatever you guys want, we're going to bring it to you. So today we have brought you PENEUL. We're going to unpack some issues. Mr. P.
So how are you? I'm okay. I haven't seen you in a while. I think I've missed you a bit. I hope you're taking care of yourself. We only fight on Twitter, which is why I blocked you. But we're not here to discuss that.
I didn't notice.
Nice to see you.
I didn't notice.
It's nice to see you.
So we're talking politics and the state of affairs right now. Where are you feeling? What are your thoughts? Where is South Africa going? Where should it be going? Do we need more political parties? What's happening?
No, thank you. I'm not a political analyst by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm humbled that you invited me to discuss politics. I've been angry with politics for quite a while now, and politicians, because when you're young, you're naive, and you believe in the best of everything, and when you become conscious, especially black conscious, you start learning about our history and the struggle, and you start researching especially a lot of the unsung heroes. Then you start looking at the guys that are in government in a certain eye, hoping that they'll do the right thing, hoping. And as you get older and as you get closer to the fire, you realize that things are not the way that you thought they were. So I've been angry with politics for a long time. And I didn't want to vote last year in the national elections. The only reason I did is because spoiling your ballot does nothing. I think if there was a way for us to spoil our ballots and 40,000 spoiled ballots equals an empty seat, I'd probably campaign for people to spoil their ballots so that there's emptier seats in parliament. With that being said, you fast forward to just a year later, and outside of being frustrated by this fake GNU, which is actually a grand coalition between the ANC and the DA, I've also been a bit disappointed by some of the people that we voted for and supported. Not because we believe in the political system, but just to play the game. Gayton McKenzie was one of them. I still have huge respect and love for Gayton McKenzie as a businessman, as a giant, as a hustler. But what he was basically selling before the elections was very much counter-ANC, and it looks like he's become a spokesperson for Cyril and the ANC and this so-called GNU, which is disappointing for some of us who are like, look, Gayton, go shake things up. He's not really shaking anything up. He is doing well for a lot of people on the surface in the Department of Arts and Culture, but some would argue that it's not much different to Panyaza Lesotho, where it looks very busy, but we don't know if the substance is
I'm
really
an
changing.
artist. I can't relate to what you're saying.
What would you like to see from Gayton?
There are a lot of policy changes that need to happen in the department, in the arts and culture sector. And there's a lot of engagement with artists. And because there's a big divide between the actual artists and the administrators. So he seems to be more chummy with the administrators at the moment. Hasn't touched grassroots. He hasn't touched the artists. So,
But whose fault is that? His?
It's his because he does have the power to.
But did you guys
move into
vote
the
for him?
space. No, we didn't. No, we didn't.
I don't want to explain it in detail because I'm not here to champion. The industry in this country, the entertainment media industry, as someone who I don't think I'm in it, but I've tasted it. You know, we've shot some commercials, I've been a featured extra in soapies, and now with social media, people are like, you're in media, and I'm like, not really. I think you guys, the people in the industry, are mostly to blame. Because what I've come to realize, part of my frustration with the political system is they don't listen to you unless you have a lot of money, or if you mobilize with the ability to either affect money or be violent. And people in the entertainment industry, the ones that are successful, are all for themselves, just like politicians.
Spot on.
And then the rest of them are just not organized. Like if I get a commercial and I'm there, you'd think there's some organization that would say, hey, you're now in our industry, come join here, we fight for you. And those would be the people that would then go and speak to whoever the minister is at the time. Part of my understanding of Gayton, and someone said this recently, the Patriotic Alliance and Gayton have the closest gap between what they say and what they're doing. Whereas the other political parties, the DA, the ANC, they say something. John Steenhuisen is there, the ANC is the problem. Now he's gained weight to say Ikwinya as a minister.
I know, it's quite fascinating.
You know, now he's defending Cyril as well. So what they say and what they do is different. Gayton has been saying for a while, we're in this for power. And he said that we want access to departments. And so I may be disappointed in how he's moving personally.
He's there for power.
But he said it.
Yes.
So it's like,
So
bro,
he's not there
what
for
do you
us.
want type of situation. So anyone who voted for him who's in the arts would have to be like, gee, this is what we're asking for. And then maybe he'd say join the PA, I don't know. Or maybe mobilize the artists and get something going. That's just on him. I was using him as an example. John Steenhuisen is another one. The political system, and it's not unique to South Africa. Let me take a step back. Let's speak about the African continent. Africa as a continent in what it is today is a result of the Berlin Conference, where countries in Europe came together. They said, hey, there's a virgin continent that we haven't destroyed yet. Everyone choose your own plot of land. And the British and the Portuguese and the French, I think the Germans and others went and they picked, we got the British. Whether luckily or unluckily, it's forever to decide. And in demarcating what we call borders today, they essentially set up companies. So what we call countries today, at least in the African context, are actually companies that serve European powers in whatever way. We'll call them European countries for ease, but to be honest, it's just a handful of rich people that happen to be based in those countries. And from when the British modernized, or not modernized, formalized us into what we call South Africa, they needed to get a governing body to manage this company. So the Union of South Africa had British colonial leaders. At some point, there were white people who felt, yeah, but you guys are not considering us. And they were like mixed breed, and I apologize to them if they offended. They were mixed breed, sort of mongrel, rejects from Europe. And they would interbreed and have mixed race called Afrikaners today. French, Huguenot, Dutch, some German, etc. They were like, no, but why can't we also be involved in the running of this country? They mobilized, this thing I'm saying now, they mobilized through the Broederbond, and then from there, they invested in the National Party, and they got into government. But getting into government doesn't mean you now own the country. The country is still a company, and it still belongs to the British Empire. So they were just given the right to manage the company.
Correct.
And in doing that, they did very well for their people. They built schools, they built universities. They managed to get some of their people, Dr. Anton Rupert, Johan Rupert today, we can speak about Christo Visa and others, who became billionaires and who got invited to the table. Because at the time when South Africa was formalized,
but we have to acknowledge that it was at someone's expense. Ne? It's not like white people were so good and they were organized.
No.
Yeah.
No. So the Oppenheimers would be the number one head boy prefect when the British were in power. So now they needed a new prefect, and Dr. Anton Rupert became that. Where if you've got a governing body running this company, South Africa, you need a business guy who is really the guy who understands the economy. Not the politicians or Manching Elan and those guys. The Oppenheimers were that, they still are that to some degree. And then the Ruperts became that, which is why Johan Rupert will have a company based in Switzerland. He speaks to the French, he speaks to anyone, even the Americans. That's why he coincides with Trump as the real person who understands the economy of
the real
this
president
country.
of South Africa.
Yeah. Later on, then black people, again the example of Gayton and the entertainment industry, they mobilized. They were like, no, but we're being left out as well. And in mobilizing then, they were funded by the Soviet Union, today I guess we'll call it Russia, and other allies that believed in, no, but you guys are being excluded. On top of that, you were shafted off your land and your labor is being exploited. So then the ANC became the poster child because of the liberation movements at the time. ANC, PAC and others, they were like, no, these guys look like the ones that we can speak to, that might be a bit more flexible for our economic policies and that are not as radical. Non-racialism, they had some Jewish people that were involved at senior levels. They were like, okay, these are the guys. Of course, there was nationalization in the Freedom Charter, but in speaking to a figure like Nelson Mandela and Oliver Tambo, they were like, these guys are willing to listen. They're not psychopaths, according to their perspective. So then we get 1994 and the compromise and CODESA and the TRC comes, Desmond Tutu. Let's forgive white people for butchering our loved ones. Even though we've still got APLA soldiers that are still sitting in jail to this day under this black government. I'm young, I'm a nobody. I become conscious during varsity years. I learn about Steve Biko, black consciousness, Robert Sobukwe, and fast forward to, let's say 10 years ago when I started being angry, when I realized what we're dealing with. So when you ask me about the political climate, where we are, where we're going, where all of us are literally watching a PSL, Kaizer Chiefs, Sundowns, Pirates. Hey, Sundowns was at the club, what, XA, what's happened to Kaizer Chiefs? It's a game. Unfortunately, this game is at the expense, to what you were saying, of a majority of black people. What are black people? What were Afrikaner people? What were Indians in this country when this company was formed? They were labor. A company needs workers. The British would be the elite. They were the Emiratis. If you look at the United Arab Emirates and Dubai, if you were British, I think Cecil John Rhodes said this at some point, that being born a white British man is like winning the lottery at the time. And he was right. The Afrikaners who were like the unwanted stepchild then fought to be seen, like, I've got something. They're like, but you're farmers, you're dirty, you're on the farm. Even to this day, they pride themselves. Ons is boere, we're farmers. But to the British bourgeoisie, it's like, that's dirty. No one wants to do that. But some of them, I guess, cleaned up and ended up owning luxury goods companies and retail stores. Like, oh, okay. So some of them can get polished. Similar would happen with black. We're looking for our black polished. But you're just a mine worker. You're just a gardener. No, but I speak good English, Sil Ramaphosa. I speak good English, Naledi Pandor. I speak good English, Thabo Mbeki. So maybe we can work with you guys and we can bring you to the table. And that's why we have BEE beneficiaries today. Dan Corder went to go and visit Trevor Noah on the What Now podcast. They had Eugene Koza there as well. And one of the cool things he said was, when the Afrikaners took over government with the National Party, what they did was white economic empowerment. but no one calls it that. And if we were to call it that, it would be easy for when white people say, but you have BEE. It's like, but you guys had white economic empowerment. Where? That's all apartheid was. It just wasn't called that. If you twist it around, if we want BEE to be in place, just change the wording. Just call it poor economic empowerment. Of course, the majority of people are black.
Yeah.
So in that way, you get to hide.
Yeah.
And then if white people are like, yo, this BEE, you're like, bro, it's these poor people. It's not us. But you know that it's actually helping poor people. But that government, the ANC government, the National Party government, and the guys that were running the British Union of South Africa, all of them are just about the company and elitism. That's why you still find poor white people today, especially Afrikaners, because when the elite take over in governing, they're not going to take everyone with. And when the ANC came into power, they weren't looking to break this company called South Africa that we're in today. You've got four role players. You've got the shareholders of the company South Africa, which by and large is still the British Empire today, which is why Nelson Mandela, Thabo Mbeki, Jacob Zuma, Cyril Ramaphosa all went to go and bow to the Queen. Cyril would go to King Charles. They don't come here. We go there and we bow because it's their company. So there's them, there's America now, which has become a huge empire, I guess, in the modern world. Which is why Cyril will have to go to the White House and explain what's going on, white genocide, you're harming our people, the whites. And then we look and the Gulf buddies, look, it's safe, mlungu. So you've got the shareholders, and some of the new shareholders now become the Chinese, maybe the Russians to some degree. Shareholders in company, South Africa. Some of the shareholders to a lesser degree will be locals, will be your Christo Visa, your Johan Rupert. I don't know if you'd call the BEE guys, maybe we can add them, Patrice Motsepe, Mzi Khumalo, Saki Matsozoma and the guys. These are the guys that are like, if this country makes 380 billion US dollars in GDP, I earn dividends because I make money from this company. That's the one role player. The second role player is now the governing body, which is government. 400 members of parliament. Jan Mukanwa would tell me that you need at least, I'm going to suck a number out of the air now, but let's say you need something like 100 million rand to get 5% of the seats in parliament.
Okay.
This is maths that he's done in some way, that if you want to campaign, set up branches, have people at the elections, and be seen and whatever, that's what you need. These guys serve the shareholders. We can try and spin it and twist it and wish, but that's actually who they serve. You need money to sit here. And the money can only come from these guys because the other guys don't have money. Which is why Songezo Zibi and Rise Mzansi and Amusi Maimani at Bosa would get funding from your Oppenheimers and the like. The IFP after Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi would get money from the Oppenheimers. I'm not sure where Gaten McKenzie and the Patriotic Alliance got money from. Your Herman Mashabas and they get money from the shareholders.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're not going to get a seat here. You're not going to get money here. The ANC, last I checked, I think it's like 10 Rand. I stand to be corrected. I think it's 10 Rand a year to be a member officially. They don't even get that 10 Rand from their members, which means people that support and love the ANC don't even send to 10 Rand. Before being captured by shareholders, out to 100 bucks, 1,000, so that you can be captured by us. After this governing body, then you've got labor, which is an important factor of any company. Who's going to work? Maybe I'll add this here before I get to the bottom. A person that owns a company doesn't care where the labor comes from, as long as it's reliable and it's cheap. That's why these same guys, the rich guys at the top, will fund non-profit organizations to fight for undocumented foreigners, because the undocumented foreigners are labor. This would happen when we were mining, when we were still a mining country. This happens with Mexico, Mexicans in America. It would happen with other people in parts of Europe and France. And the people that own the company or the shareholders, they don't care if you're South African, Malawian, Mozambican, as long as you can work and make me money. I will send whatever non-profit organization, I'll send whatever politician to go and be like, no, but human rights, we can't chase people out, their country is poor. Because this is labor. Part of that labor, sadly now, also involves crime industries. So drugs, prostitution, human trafficking, whatever you can think of. I'm in Cuba, I'm in Lebanon, I'm in Eastern Europe. I make 200 million a month in South Africa off drugs. And I hear that the guys that are peddling my drugs are being kicked out. I will fund any politician, any non-profit in that country to be like, can we stop this thing? And they'll be like, no, we've got NPOs. There's a constitution, the best in the world, which speaks about human rights. So we can't chase these people out. No, go fight that. I'll fund you. That's where you have people funding illicit cigarettes and all these weird things, because I make money here and I will fund anyone to preserve the labor. The reason politicians keep speaking about jobs, 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 is because that's all they want. They're not saying you can own the country. This country can be yours. We want you guys to be industrialists. We want you guys to be business people. We're revolutionizing all the schools, and tomorrow every child is going to learn how to trade and how to sell. And because that's not what the shareholders want. And that's not what they want, because they'll be threatened by kids that actually now have a bit of power. Then the last one become what I call charity beneficiaries. That is now what we actually call citizens more than anything. You've got a South African ID and you feel entitled to a free house, free healthcare, free schooling for your kids, a grant. These people think because they have a South African card, I'm a South African. These people, Baba, before the British and other people came here, these borders did not exist. So you've just bought into the concept that I work at Investec, you at F&B, or you guys don't earn well. What are you doing? You don't even have an access code here. Siyachachana, based on something that we didn't even build. It's a different concept when we're speaking territory where igamazwai, igamlochwa. Mangiza wamazwai mele ngizocela. When the foreigners come here, whether it's African foreigners, Asian foreigners, European, whatever, they're not coming to live in your house. They are coming to work for the company. Whether it's in the legit company, legit business, or the criminal activities. Bazosebenza. The same way we would leave KZN and the Eastern Cape, uzosebenza la eGoli. Bazosebenza now, and that's why they will be protected. The fact that you have a South African ID, you are lucky. It's like Cecil John Rhodes saying, you won the African lottery. You're lucky you're not from Sudan. You're lucky you're not from Uganda. You are South African, now you think you're better. You're not better, you just have a better company than the rest. Clearly the British did well here versus others. That's all it means. And then we fight amongst each other. Abahambe, Gaten McKenzie, what, illegal foreigners, what. And I'm not saying don't fight for them. Of course, if you feel it's your company, fight. But these guys here, the politicians, don't care about you. They care about money. And if it's not money, the other thing is violence. Because those are the two languages that shareholders and the powerful globally understand. Do you have money? Because with money, we assume you have power somewhere. If you don't have money, do you have violence? That's when we speak nuclear weapons, Iran, North Korea, etc. Just as a small deviation, before 1994, when the National Party handed over to the ANC, one of the things they got the ANC to agree to do is to dismantle all the, I think we had 6 nuclear weapons in this country.
Yes.
We dismantled them, and not only did we dismantle them, but we signed, by we, I'm talking about the government of the time, signed a Pelindaba Treaty to declare the whole of Africa as a nuclear weapon-free zone. Now, for many do-gooders and hippies, oh, that's great, who needs nuclear weapons? You know, the reality is if you live in a house where there's no gun, there's no sakila, there's no vuvu, but the house next door where they happen to be rich, they've got all the guns, America, China, Russia. There's no conversation, there's no equal conversation you'll have with a person like that. You will always be inferior. You can come with all your PhDs. Yeah, but when I studied at Harvard, it's like, come with your degree. What the liberation movement was, what Traore in Burkina Faso would be, and other places, the mobilization of people. To say we have mobilized people to an extent where the liberation movements even show that we can actually have capacity for violence. We can train guys into warfare and get the weapons. That's when the people in power are like, okay, I think these guys have earned their right to come have a conversation with us. And we've been pacified as South African citizens to be like, you have a job, you will preserve that job, because if you lose it, you lose your rent, you lose your house, you lose your car, you lose your medical aid, your kids' private school. So you're petrified as the middle class. If you're poor, I'll put a pacifier in your mouth, and that's a grant, a free house. Do you really want to lose that? Do you want to be Zimbabwe? Hey, but now you've got an operation dudula, blocking foreigners from accessing hospitals and the like. That's what we're dealing with as a country. So then you want us to discuss the governing body. What do I think is happening there? Which I'm then happy to do. But that was the context of where I think politics is.
Speaking of Operation Dudula, what about the fact that Cape Town is inundated with lots of illegal immigrants? It says that they are white, so they don't get strip searched when they just like out in Camps Bay. You don't find the police going there to check who's got documentation. So what do you think of that?
So going back to my 4 role players, are those white illegal foreigners in Cape Town labor? Are they adding value to the economy? If the answer is yes, then they're not a problem. If we all of a sudden started getting people from Uzbekistan, Turkestan in the Cape, and they're poor and they're struggling, the first people that will complain will be white people. To be like, we've got a white immigrant problem. But the white people that come there are either coming to peddle drugs,
the
to push
digital
business,
nomads,
etc. The digital nomads. That's why, like I'm saying, whether it's Nigerian, Zimbabwean, what, there will be a non-profit organization or politician that defends them because they see value. The problem is when they're taking away. So if Nigerians, Zimbabweans, Malawians, Ugandans, Ghanaians, if they were now starting to cause problems for ShopRite, Pepcore, MultiChoice, the story would change. That's why today we hear about kids being poisoned at spaza shops, and because who's being disrupted there? It's the
White
established
capital.
businesses. So as long as those guys are pushing Tiger Brands products, Unilever products, Pioneer Foods, the guys don't mind because they glorified, you know abantu babedayisa Tupperware Avon.
Yes.
They're just distributors.
Yes.
So they don't mind. It's like,
Yes.
oh, they stock from us. Once they start manufacturing
Isn't
their own
that-
stuff, isn't that?
The same as like Womekji celebrities with alcohol.
Yes.
They just distributors.
Yes. And part of the pacification project of the charity beneficiaries, because you need to be sober if you're the working class. That's why there's policies at work. If you come drunk, they threaten you, and. But for the poor, Nyaupe, Tuk, Mandrex, Uchwala, Papsak, whatever it is, we need to pacify. You can't fight nomuntu dagiwe, nomuntu kunyiwe. So again, there's that, number one. It's a pacification tool. Number two, some of the rich shareholders in this country, this is where they make a lot of their money. And then you've got, there was a time when Panyaza Lesuf was celebrating that they were in partnership on Heineken for some taverns, and people are like, but you were the guy saying you're going to outroot alcohol.
Sure.
No, when the time
That was
comes,
so
I'll
deep.
what, and you're like, and people get asked, and we can criticize. I don't want to mention names because these are people that I know personally. People can connect the dots. We're peddling alcohol, we're peddling dangerous to your health energy drinks, we're peddling cannabis products. We know that these things are not good for people. But then it becomes, bro, I'm making money, this is what people want. If they don't buy from me, then they'll buy. And you're like, and say, you look, the hustle is the hustle, so hey, do your thing.
Yeah.
But on the other side, while I'm saying that, we need to be honest that we're adding to the problem. We are part of the issue here. When I go and buy from a Pakistani instead of from Umam Shabalala, I'm adding to unemployment and poverty in our communities. I have to own it. I can't pretend like, no, but it's service. I'm lying. We are part of the problem, and that's where we are now, sadly. But alcohol is bad, drugs is bad. I know Ntlantla Lux, after taking a back seat, stepping back from the spotlight, he's now pushing a lot in terms of rehabbing, because it's like that's where a big problem is. And he's one of the few people I know that's actually trying to do something about it. How successful he'll become, I'm not sure. But I mean, who else is doing that? He's not on social media campaigning, support us, abambe. He's taking phone calls. He's done this while I'm with him live. Taking phone calls from family members who are saying, we've got a drug addict at home, please come help us. And they're running a farm, so that's something. But there's very few real activists left. And if you're an activist, you need to figure out which of these 4 role players you're actually serving. Because even if you're running a charity organization, you might think it's dope. And you're like, we just want to thank McDonald's for... Yeah, you've just become someone who's actually helping some agenda that they're pushing. Either through branding, which happened with Tusi, the Minister of Education.
Oh, that was disgusting.
Those bags, those horrible bags that were desks, what. So number 1, it's branding. Number 2, it's tax avoidance, which is legal. Number 3, it's pacification. So that these people don't have to do anything. Because part of those bags, I can only imagine, also go to undocumented foreigners' kids that are in these schools. So these are the role players we have, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're working with. Government currently, GNU, if I was to maybe share my personal views, because we spoke about the British, the Afrikaners, then we had the ANC. Where are we going? We are going to multiculturalism, and we're going to a cosmopolitan governance structure, because that becomes the next step. You guys have now been liberated, you're now free, but obviously we're not going to let black people run the country. And we found a good voice in Cyril Ramaphosa, and we found a very welcoming and amenable ANC. They are now piloting this thing of working with whites and colors and what, because this will be the next step. Jan Mukana would speak about credibility as one of the key factors in governing this country. Rich people will not let you manage their store if the workers are not going to listen to you and respect you. If whoever the charity beneficiaries are, they are not going to respect you. The reason the British lost power in running the country is because the Afrikaners took away their credibility, and they became the listen to us guys. Then the ANC and others became the listen to us guys, like, oh, the people are listening to them, even the workers, even okay, let's sit with these guys. Now that people are no longer listening to the ANC, they are losing credibility. The ANC is no longer the party, they sold out, all these things we say. So it's what's the next step? Because we need someone to govern the company. So it's okay, bring in many role players. Bring in the DA, bring in the Patriotic Alliance, bring in the IFP, which is meant to represent Amazulu. Maybe bring in Mkhonto Wesizwe, and maybe I can share on that after this. Bring in whoever, but let everyone feel represented in this joint sitting of a collaboration, so that it's like, but our guy is there. And then invest, as we've always done, in potential leaders of the future. Songezo Zibi, Musi Maimane, Herman Mashaba. Because especially rich white people, they've been looking for a Mandela, a Thabo Mbeki, a Tambo since 1990, 1994. They thought Cyril was going to be that. He's unfortunately failed. By failed, I mean he's not the people's favorite. So now they need like a compromise, which now becomes a so-called GNU. And now they're scrambling on who are we going to get next? Are we going to maybe use Gayton? Because he maybe understands.
Definitely going to use Gayton. He's also applying for the position.
Yeah. Could we maybe use Velenkosini Hlabisa because he's part of the GNU? Could we use maybe left field, a leader of the PAC? Because the PAC has got struggle credentials. Mangaliso Sobukwe is one of the faces.
And this new leader is quite a bit of a sellout, so it can
They're part of the GNU, so it's like, but guys, PAC is related. I mean, what more do you want? So they're currently piloting that, and they're trying to prop up Abo Zibi, Abo Musi Maimane, Abo Herman Mashaba to say, well, if you don't like this one guy, there's all these other guys. So I mean,
here are the other good black alternatives.
Here's a buffet. You guys can choose.
Although they've taken the most mediocre of blacks, and how can blacks possibly take it seriously? It's so weird how whites want to choose our leaders. What do you think of that? They want to choose our leaders for us, but amongst us, we know who our leaders are.
Who are the leaders? Because I wanted to ask, if they're mediocre, who are the leaders?
Ideally, there should be more women in government. And it shows itself in just the caliber of the difference between, I know you feel very strongly about this, but the caliber of men and women, it's just that we live in a patriarchal society, so we're not going to, we could have had a Nalendi Pandor as a president, we could have had a Lindiwe Sisulu. There's lots of, I mean, even if you look at Dr. Kanyisile Litchfield Chabalala, she should be much further in government, So when I say the excellent are not there, we've got Bo Gayton, we've got Bo Cyril, we've got Bo Mbadlula. It's
Tho-
not
those-
black excellence.
Those women you mentioned, two questions. Number one, are they able to mobilize potentially for violence? Or have they pandered to and have they pitched to the wealthy? Because that, as I said, all you're asking for is governance. And that's what it takes. It's not going to be representing the people, because then you're representing the charity beneficiaries. And for that, set up an NPO.
So Mam Kanye was the first female admiral. She was in MK. Mam Lindy has also been in MK. So yes, they are. It's our
No, they've
issue.
never mobilized on their own. I'm talking about on their own. Because this is the measure.
Okay, the thing is
This
that
is not
when,
me, by the way. I'm speaking
yeah,
on
we're
behalf
speaking-
of the rich.
yes,
This is
yes,
how
yes.
they process.
I'm saying that the problem is that we come from a patriarchal and anti-female leader community, society.
The reason they're not leading is because women don't vote for them.
And men. We don't live
No,
in
men
a
don't
society.
need to vote for them.
No, men create an environment where they patriarchy princesses or women who uplift men are the ones that men will acknowledge. So men like the submissive woman who will listen and push me. But men don't like a Nzikima's wife who's going to take me on head on and with intellect.
Yes.
They will diminish that and character assassinate that. So we live in a society that will character assassinate strong women voices. I mean, we saw Papano now. She's another one who gets her, just whenever you've got a strong woman who's vocal, they get cut down because our society does not allow, women must know their place.
You're
And men
100%
are
correct.
exactly. So that's what the issue.
But you can't expect men to give you that platform, which is why I'm asking. Because this is similar to the white-black argument. White people are not going to support a radical black person.
It's exactly the same, yeah.
So my question is, are there black women who have been able to, outside of, in my opinion, outside of Mamweni, and then maybe in the history of Charlotte Maxeke, etc., has there been a black woman who's been able to, on her own, be like, I don't need men to create space for me. I get women to vote for me.
We have women like that. You just don't acknowledge them. I'm a woman.
Who's
like
not
that.
acknowledging them? Women. Because you don't need men to vote for
I'm
you.
saying that we
There are
have
a lot of
women like
women.
that. There are women like that.
Patricia
we
Dillon.
exist.
Patricia Dillon.
There are lots of strong women who exist. It's just that we live in a society that's not going to say, Nziki, put Nziki in parliament. Actually, we want...
It's never going to happen.
That's what I'm saying. But our issue is
But you're not
that
gonna
the
get it.
psyche... But then if we accept that we're not going to put in our best players, then we must accept that we're going to be defeated.
Okay. Let me not even carry on with this, because I was going to say also the best players that you're listing are also people within a certain framework, but that's not important. There was a point I wanted to make. Females governance, where we're going multicultural and the GNU. So they're getting us ready for a future.
The point was that whites have chosen our mediocre leaders.
Not whites, the rich. It's a much easier way, and it avoids people fighting back.
Okay.
Yeah. So the wealthy have chosen.
We know who the wealthy are.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very easy to see the wealthy. The wealthy have chosen, and they're now investing in the future of where that's going.
Yes, and it's always boss blacks who are not going to push an agenda for the majority.
This is
It's
where
people,
now
it's blacks who want a seat at the table.
This is where now I want to speak about the MK, because I've got a theory and I could be wrong. I'm happy to be wrong. I have huge admiration for Ubabu Jacob Zuma as a man, as a father, as a husband, outside of his scandals, because he's had scandals. He's been taken to court for sexual assault and the like. Outside of that, just these things, I admire him. From a political perspective, I think he's done a lot to educate and conscientize ordinary people in how the political machine works, etc. In the same way, the EFF helped us understand Parliament. In the way they were so-called unruly, so many of us tuned in and we learned about substantive motion, point of order, hindsight, shout out to them for that. I'm not convinced that Ubabu Jacob Zuma is trying to disrupt the system of governance. I actually think he's buying the ANC time. And I think he's allowing them to do what they're doing. In the same way, Julius Malema would be in an interview. I don't know if you were still part of the ANC Youth League or the EFF at the time, speaking about how you need a led revolution, because an unled revolution is anarchy. And I think in the losing of credibility, so the ANC's lost credibility. So where do people go? No, they go to the EFF. But the EFF with no illegal foreigners, what, these are our brothers, and it's like they're also losing credibility. So now you need a placeholder where are all the disgruntled people going to go? And Umsholozi came left field with this, which is why they got 14%. Many people said they were not going to vote until MK came up because they're like, we can't vote for EFF, they're too pan-African, we're not ready. We're not voting for ANC, Abosol are sellouts. We'll vote for Mkhonto Wesizwe. But if you look at who's running it, at the big role players there, none of them are disruptive in parliament. None of them are educating people on the ground. None of them are mobilizing people either for warfare or for the economy or for land. Even though Andile Mngitama, who speak about black first, land first, kumnandi phela manje ayithi seniyahola senithule type of situation.
Yep.
So I'm worried that Mkhonto Wesizwe is now just a new valve for the angry, a new pacifying tool. Because when you're genuinely interested in the so-called people, you tell them the truth. And the truth is this country is a company and there are people that own this economy. And if we want to maybe be like a Traore in Burkina Faso, that means you guys want us to change the shareholders from the West to maybe Russia and China. Do you want that? Yes, no. Because maybe they can help us. Because if you're saying, no, we want to own it ourselves, you guys don't know how to run an economy. We have to be honest. You guys fight amongst yourselves. So we can destroy this country and burn it down and chase people out. But just know it's in Zolamba. And if that's what you want, Zimbabwe, we can do that. Be honest. Let the people know. Or
does food not come from the land?
How is it going to come from the land if you can't farm it?
Why do you think black people can't farm?
No, I never said that. I never said black people can't farm. People are not farming. South Africans, never mind black people. The average South African doesn't know where to get a seed, where to put it, and how to.
I need to forstega.
You might forstega, but the rest of them are going to be Zimbabweans in another country. In the same way, Lento Shaba, Tumhlaba, people leave the villages in South Africa to come to Joburg, Durban, Cape Town. Why are they not growing land back home where they have gangland? Those same people. So this is not me. This is evidence saying I'd rather live in a squatter camp as a security guard, as a nanny, than in your seventh umhlaba wasekhaya. It's not abantu abamnyama per se, but sure, the majority of them sadly. We can take over the country, you guys can be the shareholders, but Sizolamp. Or we can have a negotiated deal like Traore did, where the Russians have got intelligence, they've got the skills, they know how to run an economy, the Chinese as well. They will give us a better deal than the West. But it's still a deal. They still want the mineral rights, but angeke basidele basithuke basibize a shithole country like who Trump would do.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be up to you from that point to say, please, can we be upskilled? Can we go to China and Russia and learn medicine? Let's go to the Netherlands and learn farming on land. But melenfune. And what a lot of genuine leaders have come to realize is that a lot of the people they're trying to help are so drugged up, are so high, are so intoxicated, are so lost, are so also just trying to get into the table that they end up being killed, they end up being disheartened, they end up just walking away, or they end up selling out themselves. Because these are the offers on the table. And I'm saying, Mkhonto Wesizwe, as an alternative and as a revolutionary movement, is not telling people that these are the three options. We either stay with the West, which Abu Cyril, Abu Gates, and the GNU are still doing, or we go with the compromise candidate, which is Russia, China, hoping that they'll give us a better deal. We don't know. Next thing, China will say we all need to learn Mandarin. We just learned English yesterday. Now we must learn Chinese. Or this one where we say, no, we can Robert Mugabe this thing. But then Nizolamba, and some of you, especially my clever blacks, don't see, you know, PENEUL, nangithi nama options in Fundile, khona bangani bena baphesheya nizohamba. Angeke nihlale la. You'll pretend like in Yachala, but to be honest, someone's going to give you an offer to go and lecture in America. Someone's going to say, look, come to Saudi Arabia and work. Because we've got limited time. And the same people that you've given this country to, when you say, okay, nalogizwe, they're not going to work the land. They're not going to build the economy. They're going to fight amongst each other. And then you're going to be disheartened again. So I'm just worried about that, which is why Zuma wouldn't leave the ANC. Because he still believes in it. And he said he'll be ANC until he dies. The same ANC that we call sellouts. He was a leader, senior leader in the ANC for over 30 years. Zuma, it's not just 9 so-called wasted years. Ebephethe KZN, deputy president under Umbeki for 2 terms. Then he was president for 2 terms. This is a guy who's in the ANC. Yes, he was in exile. Yes, he earned his stripes. But many people, and this is just his politics, it's not the way that we think. So people, this savior mentality that we love, if it's not Zuma, then it's Malema. If it's not Malema, it's Traore. Messiah.
Ama-celebs.
Because we're lying to ourselves, sadly. That's the situation we have here. With that being said, Mkhonto says now you've got Floyd, Shibambu, and maybe I'll mention the EFF in passing. Very disappointed. I had the privilege of interviewing Snawo Tambo. He's doing a brilliant job in Parliament himself, and Usihle Lonzi. When you speak about people that sound like they speak on behalf of the people, they dope. And they're great replacements for Undlozi no Shibambu.
Indeed.
Yeah. So the EFF was very disappointed after the elections because they meant to be the valve for angry black people, and they were gambling with the Pan-Africanism thing, and it blew up in their faces. They were meant to eat humble pie, but Julius, according to them, is a bully, and he didn't want to humble himself and like, I'm sorry, they say wrong, which is why then there'd be witch hunts with Ondlozi leaving, Abu Shibambu saying it's a cult, and that's the one part. Where Julius is going, I don't know, but he's still a role. He's still got a very important role to play. There are many people that believe in him. There are many people to this day that link him to like a Traore, even though he's not militant. He believes in democracy, sadly. He's not putting together an army. I'm not aware that he's working with Russia or China. The Afrocentric will come from you. So they still link him to that. And the EFF, by and large, has built an incredible machine over 10 years. That is absolutely brilliant. We've seen it. To this day, the EFF, maybe today, is the only, I think today it's the only political party that still gives a black child dignity. Where if you're working in white corporate or whatever, you ubasasazela in the EFF, which if you don't, I'll go fish the EFF and we're going to shut down this business. That
fighters.
That is dignity for a black child type of situation. So shout out to the EFF for that. Floyd now gets spat out by Julius, sadly, in whatever way. Or he's sent by Julius, Asas. Maybe they're that smart. Undlozi obviously leaves. He threatens to set up a Black Afri Forum. We're still waiting. He gets a nice gig in mainstream media, which is sort of linked to the Ruperts as well.
Very much.
With the power. But we'll see how it goes. Mkhampe now he's moving somewhere. He's getting much closer to Thabo Mbeki. Maybe at some point he'll rejoin the ANC, or they're waiting for the elders. They're waiting for the sun to set.
The transitional period.
Yes. Maybe they're waiting for natural succession. Which
Yes.
So now we're coming back. Thabo Mbeki asked us to take over after they're gone, etc. I don't know. Trump and Julius, or maybe he's sour. I don't know. Then you've got Floyd joins Mkhonto So number one, to try and be like, this is not a Zulu party, as many people are saying. It was a good move. It was a great move. He comes in as the SG. He happens to trample on the toes of the First Lady of MK, Ututuzile Zuma. There have been rumors, and I'm not here to speak about them, of a good relationship between Ututuzile and Julius Malema. The rumors get even deeper than that, but I'm just going to say I'm aware that even on Twitter, she still posts favorable posts for Julius and for the EFF. So there may have been a squabble in that realm. Then the next thing becomes, I'm my dad's right-hand man. I've been here since the get. I'm doing everything for my dad. Uma Fikizolo, which she literally called him. Uma Fikizolo, you and your pop constituency, and now you're coming to shift your weight around. Where Floyd is like, no, girlie, when are you not even a politician? I've been in politics. I was in the youth league. I set up the EFF. I'm here to come help you guys build a constitution and a framework. Your daddy's little girl. I think things are now. So you've got that issue. And then sadly, and this is why Julius would emphasize Ubabaga Duduzane in Parliament. Sadly now Zuma seems to pick family first. And now it becomes for Floyd, Ubabaga Duduzile. Julius will kill for Zuma, what, Maxek Puma business deals, Ubano Jayo, Umfana Duduzane with the Guptas, etc. Now I'm helping where Nababaga Duduzane. And when shit hits the fan, so Ubabaga Duduzile type of situation now. So there might be that dynamic. He's copying the Herman Mashaba model. So Herman Mashaba, after he left the DA, would have this national dialogue of sorts. What does the country need? Let's pretend like, oh, do you guys really want a political party? Hey, if it's the will of the people, whatever. So whoever the rich people that were close to him were like, look, do this thing. Let's see if you actually have a constituency, and then we'll give you money. I think Floyd is doing the exact same. I was there helping Julius. I've got my credentials of building a political party 10 years. I'm here with Umkhonto Wesizwe, which is Amafigizolo, but he's brilliant, under the tutelage of sorts of Jacob Zuma, who was senior leader in the ANC. I think I'm now ready to fly on my own. Let me go and prove a constituency, and then the rich will give me money. Who are the rich? We don't know. Is it some of the people that funded Umkhonto Wesizwe? Is it Bushiri that he went to go and visit? Is it someone else? Iran, Russia, Assad. Could be the exact same people, could be someone else. But maybe in this drive of, we've now hosted, this is where mobilization comes in. We've now hosted 200,000, 300,000 South Africans willing to listen to Floyd. Rich people, even the ones that were not paying attention, are like, hey, you know, we gave money to Zibi, we gave money to Maimani, gave money to Mashab. Maybe let's put money in this Shibambu boy. Because who knows, he might be a maverick in the future and come out of nowhere and become what we're looking for. So he's doing that. We must not be confused with political parties. Are there too many? Are they? The big bulk of political parties are people that don't know what politics is. They manage to raise a bit of money to register and to campaign, but they are nobodies. We don't need to worry about them at all. Some are just trying to get one seat into parliament so that they can rub shoulders with, oh, Cyril Bahle, you know, hey, when we were in parliament, and then maneuver around the country being like, you know, I'm an MP, let's get some tenders, let me sit with, hey, you're a member of parliament, you know, Unseki Mazwai is a member of parliament. Oh, Honorable Mazwai, we'd like to invite you to speak here. So that's all they're trying to wiggle their way in, but it's tough. Oh, Mam Patricia Delil with all their credentials have shown us, I just get one seat. Oh, Musi Maimani with their millions, Batola Boma, 2 seats. Oh, it's tough.
Yeah.
But it's just soccer teams.
Yeah.
It's just soccer teams. And in the soccer teams, I think Rupert has a soccer team now called Stellenbosch FC. You need to catch the imagination and the mind and the vision of a really wealthy person as a soccer team. Look, Sundowns is doing well, but I found these boys in the Eastern Cape. I know the Eastern Cape is known for soccer, but there's these boys in the Eastern Cape. They're well fed. They come from rugby, so bakulu, bakshibafan, Nigerian in terms of physique, but we're teaching them soccer. They don't have fancy skills, but they play like the Germans. They're mechanical. If you invest in us, I think we could rival Sundowns. And a rich guy's like, hey, that's not a bad way. Number one, we can clean money with this team. Number two, we can use it for tax avoidance. Number three, it'll make you look good. You'll be the owner of Amakhosa FC. And it'll be like, we've now built the premier football club for the Eastern Cape. And Amakhosa will be like, hey, we're tired of carrying this country. Velo kolisi, nozozibi, now sesin petena se type of situation. And you capture the imagination. And then you get funding. And then it's up to you what you do with the funding to either stay in the game or to be spat out. Because people get spat out. Your copes and the like. Umama, Dr. Mampela, I always mess it up.
Mampela.
Yes, so she'd get spat out with the Achang, and because these were all projects. This is all, get a constituency, we need you to serve us, but we're the rich.
Yeah.
Your country is a piece of land. This is what people need to understand. South Africa is a piece of land. This is nice, because this is farming. This is farming. This is gold. This is mining. This can be maybe this can be manufacturing. This can be maybe even water, you know, like all Lesotho. But this is what a country is. And in the modern world, it's not, this is the land of my ancestors where I buried my grandparents. This is where we used to herd our cattle, where they graze. And this is an economy. And the most violent people in history, particularly the British Empire, went around and claimed a stake. And they proved it through violence. This thing that I keep saying, violence, that we have the ability to steamroll anyone. They didn't need to kill all black people because they're like, no, we can use them because we need workers. And British noblemen are not going to be getting their hands dirty. So we'll keep them, the ones that behave. So they do that. Later on, black people would come and say, but we also want to engage in the economy. That's when the liberation movement would start, which at the time we were told we just want our land. It wasn't really land, it was an economic fight. Some naive people, what I was before, they thought it was about land. It's not about land. Even ordinary black people, if they were truly honest with themselves, know it's not about land. Because Ngonyama Trust is huge. I can take you to Induna, Newcastle, Ethics. I can take you outside of a mountain, long homes, uzobonga nje mhlampe ngo-500 rand, what, you'll get a hectare of land. You're not going to go there. Because you don't want land, you're lying. There's land all over South Africa. So it's not about land, it's about something else. And anyone who wants to get into politics, anyone who's fighting politics is trying to get into the governing body that speaks to the rich to manage this, and then some way convinces the masses, hi, so sonwela, what, so that they come down. So the grant or like an unemployment grant if you have a qualification. Hey, it's just to keep these people at bay more than anything, while imali yakhandwa by these other people. But in terms of the political model of Russia, China, or Zimbabwe, none of the politicians are speaking about it at all. None. There is no political party, including the EFF, that I'm aware of that is trying to run South Africa like Russia. They've had 10 years. It's not a long time, but it's long enough for us to actually see if you're serious about nationalization. And if you're serious about nationalization, melu vute abantu. We're mobilizing. We're going to march outside ESCOM. We're going to march outside the banks every week until these people give us shares. And we're going to put them in a trust on behalf of the people. They are not doing that. And anyone who believes they are is lying to themselves. Because some of us, unfortunately, or we're too close to the fire, we can see that it's nonsense. So that's where I think our politics is. For anyone interested in getting into politics, like I said, and I want to emphasize this, you can choose, and we've had so many names. Trevor Manuel and his wife, Maria Ramos, Saki Machozoma, Mzi Khumalo, Lazarus Zimsil Ramaphosa, of course, the Motsepe family, with Patrice being the face, and many others have used that governing body level to laugh with the elite and to be pulled up to sit at that table, which is why Trevor Manuel, 2 years ago, I sat with DJ Sbu and Prof. JJ Tabane. Prof. JJ Tabane accuses Trevor Manuel and Tito Mboweni behind the scenes of helping to set up COPE. He gets sued. In getting sued, one of the things, or in that whole story, Trevor Manuel says he's no longer a member of the ANC. Then I said, oh, Kanjan, this is the party that built you. Only to realize, no, this is just a means to an end. I have now served, I've governed, the elite have seen my worth. I've been moved up. At some point, he was sitting on the board of the Rothschilds. He was the chairperson of Old Mutual. That's what it is. So tomorrow, when you and I set up a political party, guess who is Trevor Manuel. Or Thabo Mbeki, or other people that are, Patrice Motsepe, who funds the ANC, the DA, the EFF, I think the Freedom Front Plus as well. So I'm a because they managed to get from governance to shareholder. And that's what people are trying to do. At least those that are smart. I think it's what Gayton is trying to do. Because Gayton understands the game. Which is why I admire him. Outside of my disappointment. Gayton. And like other politicians at times, he's showing us certain things. And every now and then he goes live and he tells these videos, and he's still a bit clumsy. And when people are still clumsy, they share intel. Because they bama newbie. Did you know Puzwa Manze 5,000 and Connie Kolit, and you're like, damn, I didn't know that. So Sesia Funda. So Gayton is in there. How far he's going to get, I don't know. But it's pretty dope that he's playing the game and he's sort of being honest, even though it's disappointing for some of us. But I'm back where I was a few years ago, which is the political game is rigged. The same way you spoke about the patriarchy system, which is not going to change, in my opinion, until women are willing to violate aggressively men, including taking their lives, by the way, because that's what men do to women. Until women in some way are willing to buy from each other, work for each other. I can't work for this company if it's not female owned. I'm not going to buy from, let's pass the Saban. No, then I'll buy. Until women do that, and it's tough because the systems are difficult. Women won't have that type of power because it's vicious and it's violent.
We're groomed to hate other women, actually.
Sadly, by the system. In the same way, black people also are groomed
to hate other blacks. Exactly. It's so deep.
Yeah, but the system is what it is, and I think I'll stop there.
So as we start to wrap up, I want to find out, you know, us who went to school with white people.
The chosen ones.
So what does that do to the black psyche? And I say this because we saw that situation, that interaction with you and Rob Hertzov. So sometimes these blacks who are familiar with whites,
Yeah.
sometimes you think that you're in the same league, they're
Sure.
your friends, until that moment where they show you.
No.
You understand? Yeah.
Yeah. What's your question?
So I'm asking,
The psyche.
what does it do to our psyche? And I mean, now you've processed what happened with Rob. So
Yeah.
unpack where you're at, what it did to you, that moment, and
Sure. You need to train people to buy into the system, again, credibility, which is why all of us are going through this still arguably British type of education system, and we think it's the one. No one is trying to challenge that, sadly, at all, at least not on a scale that's noticeable, to say, I don't need you to go to school, just come and work in the shop, go work in the farm. And when someone says, where did you study? You're like, oh no, I'm stupid, I'm an idiot. But in name 300 and I've got businesses, but I'm an idiot, me. No one is challenging it. And these systems, for people that know how they work, have become really great factories to churn good English-speaking, Afrikaans-speaking blacks whose mindsets are about old boys culture. We need to make money. Come on, bro. We all need to what, and the banter and the reunion weekend. It works and it's nice. And I think it's got if I was to thumbsuck, maybe a 80% success rate. Maybe less. Maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe 65, 70% success rate where black kids leave that system and they literally think, I'm a better black. You know, my kids have to go to like Kuro, and there's no way I'm going to government hospitals, I'll die. And you literally believe that. You believe I'm just a dark-skinned white person. Because I mean, I did well at school, and Ashley knows that me and her are competent, and that's cool. But some of us, unfortunately, are rejects from the system because we went through the system, and it's crazier when you did well in it. Because it's normally easier to rebel when you didn't do well.
Yes.
You didn't make first team rugby.
Yes.
You weren't a top student. The white kids didn't really like you. You were always going to detention like fuck abelungu. Anyways. But for those of us who excelled in those spaces, like, a Barack Obama in the making. Pen, you know, sorry to say this, bro, but you remind me of a young Mandela, bro.
you're not like the others.
What the fuck do you know about a young Mandela? Anyways. So you do that. Some of us are rejects. And like I said, my consciousness became strong in varsity because I met a lot of really conscious, especially women, young girls. It was pretty dope. They plugged me into the books, the political history, the what. Shout out to them. I wish I could throw their names. Hopefully they know themselves. But
you see what I was talking about, the caliber of women
there
have.
might still be beef because I just joined them varsity. So that's zone.
But you've got beef with lots of women. But anyways.
No, I mean, I've been exposed to some of the most amazing women in the country, which is why some people accuse me of misogyny and weird things, but I have the utmost respect for women and especially black women. And just like Abantu Abamnyama, my frustration is that unsupport time. And then you can't expect to PENEUL as unsupport because that's belittling. I can't tell you, hey, vote for women. It's like, who are you, man, to tell me? Anyways, you fast forward to, Rob is just an example. I'd been speaking at a time because I set up the Buy Black movement. I don't know how many years ago now. Because I was saying if you can actually conscientize black people to intentionally buy black and work black, we almost don't need to worry about anything else. The Indians or the Muslims have shown us. The Jews have shown us.
Everybody's doing it like that.
Everyone's doing it, except for black South Africans in particular. So I was like, let me push this thing. And very soon I got hurt in various ways. Rob Hersoff gives a speech at the business conference hosted by Alec Hogg. He's an old boy at my school, Newcastle High. So Abelung are doing the things. In that, he calls the ANC leaders a lot of names. At a time when some of us were becoming frustrated with the ANC and sellers, but now we're hearing it from a descendant of wealth, white wealth that made its money, British colonialism, Afrikaner, apartheid, whatever. He says things and I'm intrigued. I make a video. I was doing a charity drive in Didier in the Val. I make a video. In that video, I speak about his speech. And towards the end of the video, I say this. I'm not naive about what the elite white people in this country want. They want black people to behave. If possible, be hardcore Christian. Be well-behaved, work hard, don't dismantle. And then if you work really, really hard, we might handpick some of you. I say this in that video. It trends, Rob's people find it, they give it to him. It ends up leading to us having a meeting. In that meeting now we use the ticket that we got from these schools. I can speak to him in a language he knows. Oh, fuck, your school is shit. We used to whip you guys in rugby, and what do you know? It's like, hey, I like this guy. On top of that, it looks like black people are listening to this guy. Which for any rich Ngamla especially, this is all we're looking for. A black person we can speak to, but who also has credibility in black ears. And I'd like to think, and I was never naive, that in my relationship with Rob, it was some of that look, maybe this Pen guy is one of the guys we need in our arsenal. He may not be in politics, but he could even say something like, Pen, I'd vote for you. Really, Rob? Maybe I should get into politics. Yeah, we'll fundraise. No. So I never wanted politics. But I'm in the media space, and media is powerful, and now podcasts are doing the things. And it's like, no, let's get closer to this boy. Again, I was never naive. In the space I'm in, my naivety is they never had a Mandela, a Ramaphosa that went to a St. Banbani who played first team rugby. So maybe I can speak to them as the people that went to school with their kids. So say, you know, our fathers, some sold out, some hate you. But we're the next generation. We'd like to work with your kids to actually, what I was saying about the GNU, they're getting us ready for mixed racial and what political elite. I'm like, can we have a conversation where we're bringing in more black people and we're looking at different models, because this is not working. And I can tell them even today, this so-called GNU you guys are trying to do, it's also going to expire soon, because there's a model beyond this, which can make sure you guys make money, but we win.
Everybody wins.
Including you guys.
It's so weird how white people want to do it this way, and you're like, guys, but...
I use analogies they understand. Look at the Springboks. I'm speaking to their hearts now. This is Afrikaner Springbok. Siyakolisi, who doesn't even speak that good English, which we love. Siyakolisi, Lukanyo Amapimpi, Cheslin Kobe. I'm like, you see, if you can get the right type of black, colored Indian people to sit at the table, and you actually respect them, and you like make decisions, all of us can win.
They are equals, not their...
All of us can win, and we can have an economy that's doing phenomenally well globally. We can do it. I'm not expecting them to fully hear me and understand me, because I'm not that big of a deal. My platforms are not Joe Rogan. I'm not wealthy. I'm not like a dollar millionaire somewhere. But I'm like, I think I'm getting somewhere. And some of them are willing to sit with me, you know. And it wasn't because of Rob, but I'd sit with the guys at AfriForum. I'd go visit Orania. I've got a love-hate relationship with Afrikaans people, specifically because I love rugby and because I was raised in an Afrikaner culture. So I love Afrikaans culture, for me personally. This is maybe my little sellout thing. So I understand them in their various shades. I can speak to them in a way they understand. So I speak to them, and I'm like, look, maybe this becomes the seeds that I plant for us to have the conversations. Trump gets a second term. As soon as Trump gets a second term, white supremacy, iyavuka, gumnandi. And in that, these people I'm speaking to, people may not understand. I was never naive about AfriForum being for white Afrikaners. I was never naive about what Orania, I was never naive even about Rob Hersov. My frustration was, I thought we were having a conversation. But as soon as Traore, Andile Mnetama, as soon as they arrived, you were back to, like Pen. Bro, I thought we were having a chat. But as soon as a black guy, they killing whoever, when you see a Jabul, it's like, clearly we're not going anywhere. And that upset me. So I vented in that regard, and I was like, I don't think we need to sit and talk, because you're not listening to anything I'm saying. I wasn't naive about what your agenda is, but I thought we were both watching the Springboks and saying, hey, do you see that? We can do that. And I know Gayton are trying to sell this concept in government. The GNU is like the Springboks of, it's not, because it's not representative. Our economy is nowhere close to the Springbok. I'm like, bring, I just can't use examples off the top of my head, but let's say the equivalent of a Jacob Zuma in business, a Julius Malema in business.
Exactly.
Bring the black guys that are not, bring them close and let them.
The ones you don't get along with, those are the ones you need to be on the table.
Listen to them. They'll tell you, if you want to build a South African WhatsApp, make sure it's got indigenous languages. They're the ones that will tell you, if you want black people to, don't make spaza shops, ashisayo, build a rondo or ispaza. That's how we're going to actually be game changers in the world. But you guys are not willing to listen.
Yeah, they know better.
And tomorrow, we're waiting for one Arab Spring. It won't be me. There's going to be one black girl. There's going to be one black girl who in whatever way is going to find a way uvusa North Korea. She won't even go for these guys. She'll go to North Korea. She'll maybe go live there, go study there. She'll get close to the Kim family. And then she'll come and she'll fuck shit up. She won't fuck shit up here in South Africa because, you know, a lot of wealthy, specifically white people are so comfortable with the small brains of what they call indigenous people that they're like, oh, they're fighting over company South Africa. That black girl is going to go colonize France. She's going to go colonize America. She's going to go do the things you've never dreamed of. And she won't be like your ancestors who came and colonized and killed some people. She's going to enact a real genocide. Where ngempela manje you guys are an endangered species, because she's going to be like, oh, I see the mistake we made. If you watch the movie The Avengers Infinity War, Thanos snaps his finger, he gets the Infinity Stones, and half of the universe disappears because he says, our issue is scarcity. In Endgame, when he comes back and the Avengers are fighting him, he's like, I realized my mistake was keeping some of the people that still remember the world the way it was. And I realized that I actually need to remove everyone so that the new people are fertile and they're not coming with old ideas. That means now even burning all history books. Which if ever the British, what's that? No, our history books say the British was like a cartoon show where these people were like visiting other countries. There's no such thing as a British Empire. You're fucking lying. Because many people don't know about the Mongolian Empire, the Ottoman, because history is not sold like that. It's controlled by who's in power now. And this little black girl is going to cause the most harm. And at some point, when you guys are just about to be exterminated, she's going to be like, there were people trying to warn you. They were the prophets of the future. They were saying, let's work together. And you guys refused to listen. And we're not here to talk anymore. Because other people talked. Some of them, they sold out. Some of them you guys killed. We realized that there's nothing to talk about here. We're building... And I think this is when I apologize, because this is going to go on a platform which doesn't belong to us. I think when ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, when they recruit in the way they recruit underground, this is literally the story they're telling. That, look here, these people never listen. So we need you to join this. This is what we're doing. We can then debate if they are really a terrorist group or if they're a liberation group. We don't know. But the bottom line is, if you're constantly going to beg people at the White House, if you're going to go to the Constitutional Court, if you're going to go to the United Nations, if you're going to constantly go through the right channels, which are owned by our Bill Gates and his mates, and hope to see justice, it'll never happen. That's why Kim Jong-un doesn't go to the UN and the World Economic Forum and go, he doesn't, because he's like, you guys can play this whole game. I'm not. And our Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party are like, we will not allow Google and Meta here. We know what you guys do. We're not naive. We can trade here. But but we're not going to allow you to do. There will be someone in future who's going to say, no, these are facts. So you'll realize that in future, there was a chance for us to do something different. And many of us will be casualties, including some people that we care about.
I know.
And it will be at a time when the wealthy, the powerful, the elite were meant to listen and say, guys, what's the future of the world? How can we be remembered in history that we changed the whole thing around? We didn't listen. And today we're here now where people are complaining about fertility rates. People in certain countries are now trying to enact policies for people to have kids. People are coming to Africa because bayagula. People are now going to organic remedies because they're making them sick. And you're like, but Sankuza, we're the idiots, like in Avatar. We're the nature people who live with nature and worship the sun. But we're sustainable and we're strong, and that's why we've outlasted. You can plant concrete. We still come through, boss. You judge us.
That time, about 2020, abelungu complain about has shown it now.
Yes, these are facts.
Right.
Our gates were literally complaining to him. What's going on in Africa? They're not about No, some people there's more vaccines. So
yeah,
it is what it is. But look, we're awake. we're woke, we're conscious. We're unfortunately not powerful and we're not violent, you know, and people mustn't listen to this and be like, the fact that we're speaking about it and we speak about it in English means we're actually the safe guys. We're just saying there are guys that are not that safe and they may not be around now, they may be coming in future. But because you guys don't want to listen to us, which when the ANC and them and Umkhonto Wesizwe and APLA, when they were setting up guerrilla wings, they were like, okay, man, it's fine. But don't wait till it's too late, because the next guys are not going to sit around a Codesa table. They'll be like, oh, you've done this before.
Yeah.
And we remember what happened.
Yeah.
So we're not even going to.
Yeah.
We're not even, we babysit your children. We work in your gardens. We work in your farms. Jobuchi, we grow your food. No, we're actually the ones that are working in that field. So
we take the money. we grow the food.
We grow the food. So Vusanu takes no, lo uyale France uya export and then go kula abantu unga understand kwenzakalani ngoba bengafuni ukulalela. That's all.
Very well.
Sorry.
We are looking forward to inviting you over again for a nice conversation. Thank you for the chocolate.
Only a pleasure.
I will get nice and fat on that. Thank you so much for coming
like
to
it.
see us on MOYA. And we'll see you again.
Do I have time for one last point? I hope you and I in particular, I can't speak for other people, will be kinder to each other on social media, because we're fighting the same fight. Because we can fight behind the scenes. And then on social media, if ungizwa ngathi ngiyabheda, you can just be like, no, I think we are better. But we don't have to fight. And a lot of us who are of the same mind, it ends up becoming a circus for people out there that we're actually meant to be working with. So it's just for me and you, and then I guess for anyone else who vibes with what we're trying to achieve. Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Umoya Ulight, Umoya Ubright. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of MOYA Political Series. We'll see you guys again. Oh, guys, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And the members, we got you. See you again next time.
Who are you when all you were has been diluted by lies and white lines cancelling out all that which has been written of your history? Why do you look at yourself as a mystery? Doesn't the sun shine because you open your eyes? Doesn't the moon stay situated within the same stars your DNA sparkles off? Your spirit knows that surely corner into e off. Buza umoya so you may return to being well off. Because spiritually you are rich, yet your ancestors cry because you are out of reach. But yours is to command all elements while God takes inspiration from the very mirror she looked at to become. Remember who you are and never finish just when they think that with you they are done.